Hi everyone and welcome to my review of Carry On Camping in 1969. This film was directed by Gerald Thomas, as are pretty much all the Carry On films, and yes, a Carry On review. Here is the DVD, yeah, just the cheap DVD this time, but yes, big thing here. Of course, this film is part of the series, which is basically the series, the British series, which has got the most amount of films, within the franchise, total 31, and that will soon, kind of come to an end. Eventually, James Bond films, of course, overtaking that. Because I think James Bond's, is going to keep going and stuff for at least quite a few more decades. Carry On's never going to be taken back, of course. The obvious reasons, it just wouldn't be allowed. Unfortunately, I think it's very unfortunate. There's so many bad comedies out there now, and just because. I think a lot of these are very harmless, films, just not following certain rules, and stuff. Despite their very innocent nature, I feel, I think it's a shame, that they won't be made anymore ever again, I don't think. And but yes, putting that note aside, they have brought many laughs and fun to many people, of course, including me. This one in particular, and Carry On Doctor, and Carry On Screaming are the ones I watched the most as a kid. I haven't seen any of these for about 10 years at least, I think. So very interesting, of course, to rewatch it, of course. And yes, this one, it is, it's 69, so it's around the time when a lot of their best work was at least coming to an end, around about this time, maybe a couple more after this, and then it started petering out. A lot of the bad ones, not so good ones, towards the end of the 70s. Of course, it started in the 50s, late 50s. And some, it ranges, of course, many different parodies, of course, of different films or series, or just kind of British life. This one, of course, parodies camping, and just British, kind of homes and everything, and kind of couples, all this kind of stuff, caper, and it is here within this film. Very short film, very short comedy, of course, and yes, the usual Carry On team. You have many great actors here, of course. Sid James, of course, playing Sid Boggle in the film. Him and his friend Bernie in the film. The actor, of course, was in quite a lot of Carry On films as well. They go to this. Of course, at the beginning, they see a kind of a clip, in the cinema for this campsite. Paradise Camp, and of course, it turns out to be a nudist camp, and they take their wives, well, not wives, partners, to this to show them, and then of course they're not having any of it, but then they do plan to go to this place on holiday together, these two couples. So Sid and Bernie desperately wanting to get their partners to this site, and of course it's a massive journey, and of course it's not just these characters. You have kind of Peter Potter, who's kind of a big character in the film, him and his wife Harriet, standouts in the film. They of course are involved. This Kenneth, Dr. Kenneth, who's in charge of this kind of this class of girls, and they of course go on a kind of field trip to the camping site as well. You've got quite a lot of other characters, in the film. All kind of, it's kind of an ensemble, of course, like most of the Carry On films. And yes, they all travel to this campsite. Eventually, of course, maybe some slight spoilers, but yes, eventually when they get there, of course, it's not a nudist camp, and of course Sid and Bernie very disappointed, and of course, yes, from then on it's mostly in the campsite. There's some things happen, but yeah, it's kind of an exploration of many different things here. Of course, it is very silly at times, and it's kind of, it's stuff that you'd expect from Carry On films, but yeah, I think actually it's a very good film. This, it's not a great film really, in terms of cinema, but definitely very effective comedy, one full of charm, and one that I really enjoyed. I think I love moments of the film. I think definitely I always thought the first half is better, and certainly actually really the first hour actually is just maybe definitely the top end of the 80% marks from me, but then it starts taking a little dip, and it does turn into kind of a bit more one-sided stereotypes and stuff, and it focuses more on Sid and that, kind of, and their endeavours, with of course characters played by Barbara Windsor, etc. But yes, of course, you've got you know, all these characters in the film. As I say, it's an ensemble. You know, Peter, you know, and his wife Harriet. You know, just adds so much great comedy to the film. And of course, Matron, great character. She is so good in the film. You know, and yeah, just a great character. I love, you know, many different relationships in the film, and all had kind of unique kind of comedy moments. You know, and her and Kenneth, you know, are just great together in the film. You know, it's just great kind of at times British comedy. You know, kind of there is slapstick in there, but it's mainly, you know, these kind of situations that arise and stuff, and kind of awkwardness, and just yeah, just kind of you know, charming you know, kind of characters all together, and yeah, it just is really enjoyable, this film. You know, there's not too much to comment on the cinematography of the film. It's quite basic at times, but yeah, it just kind of it's fine. Nothing too special there. The editing, again, it's fine. Sometimes it's quite effective in what it kind of, you know, juxtaposes, you know, times. But yeah, again, nothing to comment too much on there. It's mainly this script, you know, and these characters played by, you know, the usual actors. The charm of the film, you know, just how well you know, the kind of build up is to this campsite. There is some flaws, particularly with when they get to the campsite, all of them kind of meet up, which is really you know, kind of satisfying to see all the characters meet up. But you know, kind of it focuses a lot more on characters, you know, like Babs and stuff, played by Windsor. It's a very iconic scene, of course, you know, which many people, of course, don't like. But yeah, it's just you know, it's a scene, of course, that everyone's seen, really. You know, of course, and yes, this sort of stuff, you know, is more. It's focused on more later on in the film, and you know, that's the stuff that isn't quite as good for me. It's a bit cheap. Let's put it this way. You know, just this film, of course, and many Carry On films, they are stereotypes. The characters, you know, that's what it's meant to be. But you know, there are stereotypes in cinema where they are also characters of their own. I feel stereotypes on the surface, but you know, they do have their own unique kind of traits. I think this film at times has that. Other, you know, characters like Babs, definitely just stereotypes for me, nothing more. You know, she wasn't a very good character. I didn't like her too much, and some of her friends and that, they just kind of done the same thing, sort of laugh and you know, very naive and stuff. It's just very stereotyped. You know, and just yeah, they're just one note. You know, there's no tears about it. The only thing is, simply put, they're not great characters. They're not well written. They're not really great performances, but you know, the situations that arise, it's still, you know, it's still funny despite being very one note. You just, yeah, I think the rest of the comedy up until this, you know, really was mostly a lot better. You know, it was just the timing of it, you know, the way that it was kind of built up, the comedy in each scene, and just the characters, you know, when they're all, you saw them in different scenes, separate scenes, but they're all kind of going to the campsite. This is, you know, when the film is at its best for me. Again, though, you know, the final act does have some really funny stuff. You know, there are some, you know, people that come into the campsite and start, you know, partying and stuff. And this scene, you know, where it shows them all dancing and stuff, could definitely have been cut a little bit. But yes, once you see them, you know, get taken out and stuff, it's quite satisfying and funny in its own way, because you cared for, you know, these kind of, you know, elderly couples and stuff more, you know, more kind of wanting just peace. And you kind of, when you see them kind of get that at the end, it is very satisfying. But yes, you know, it definitely, you know, didn't live up to the rest of the film to this point. I think until the hour mark, really, it's, you know, at times it's got some great, you know, British comedy there, and mostly just really effective, very consistent film. You know, it's, yes, sometimes it's very on the nose, you know, and there's all double meanings, of course. You know, a lot of British comedy, of course, always has this, you know, and stuff, and not everyone kind of likes this kind of stuff, but I do definitely at times, you know, when it's done well, and I think this is really done well, this film. I think, you know, I think the music's quite good as well, but it's mainly about these actors, of course. You know, Joan Sims in the film as well. She's really good. Bernie's girlfriend, maybe not quite as good in the film. She wasn't that great, but still fine. Kind of just, it's just nice, you know, kind of a niceness to it. It's kind of very pleasant, and you know, I don't think it's such an innocent film in many ways. I don't even think, you know, some of the stuff that people can find offensive, I don't think it's really to be taken to heart. You know, personally, I can understand if people are offended, but yeah, it's just the Carry On films are not really kind of aggressive or anything. They're not, you know, kind of spiteful or anything. I think they don't mean harm. They just are very, very, you know, kind of silly and childish. But some of them are very, very good. You know, and this one is definitely one of my favourites, if not my favourite. You know, I can't remember, you know, a lot of the other ones, some of them, so I have to, of course, rewatch them. You know, Carry On Doctor, that was definitely one I always watched quite a lot. Has some of the similar cast, of course. Kenneth Williams is great in the film. You know, he is such a good character that, you know, that he plays, and just him and you know, Matron together add for so much great comedy in the film, and the awkward situations that arise when they keep going into the rooms and stuff. This is just how you know, how you do kind of at times classic British comedy, and it has a charm to it, and it's just so much better. You know, so many of these tropes are so much better than a lot of comedies now. It's just really, really charming. You know, and just so well done. But you know, it definitely has a lot of flaws in the final 20 minutes, and it does take a dip. But you know, I think some of my favourite characters, you know, Peter Potter and Harriet. You know, of course, she has that laugh. Every laugh that she does in the film is actually funny, even though she does it a lot. So luckily, yeah, it doesn't go, you know, it doesn't get drawn out in that sense. And yeah, I just think there is some over the top moments, but not too much until, you know, the kind of final act, I think. And there is a moment where, you know, there's a weird scene, you know, drunk scene and stuff. It's a bit out of context and stuff. But yes, most of this film is very, very good. There is a couple of touches of greatness in there. You know, it's no masterpiece, but yeah, I think very, very enjoyable. You could say I mostly love this film. You know, especially the first hour. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, among my more, you know, liked comedies. You could say, not, you know, one of my top 10 or anything like that. But yeah, I think I definitely pretty much love most of the film. I'd have to give it an 83%. This is for the critical rating. My enjoyment would be a bit higher, of course. But yeah, I think some of the main flaws, you know, yes, they're stereotyped, but some of them are too far in that sense. They are just stereotypes, and kind of caricatures. You know, I think the script is mostly really, really good. The timing is as well, and just the way that's edited, you know, of course, plays a hand in that. But sometimes it's a bit too on the nose, and yeah, just some moments, especially in the final act, that really let it down from being the top end of the 80 mark percentage-wise. But yeah, I think very, very charming film. I really like this film. Pretty much love it, and the pairing of many, many different characters in the film. There's quite a lot of pairs in the film that just add for so much, you know, borderline great comedy and just so enjoyable stuff. You know, I think it really, of course, portrays British kind of lifestyle kind of quite well. You know, I think camping has never appealed to me. I hate it. Kind of the idea of it is just, yeah, it's not my kind of dream sort of getaway kind of thing. And of course, I have always lived in the UK. You know, currently, but yes, and I do not like, you know, camping. I don't see how it appeals, really. But yes, and I think this kind of parodies this and the kind of how kind of miserable it is and stuff. The weather, the British weather, of course, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, just you know, really, really enjoyable, as I say. The kind of pairings of the characters, the charm it has, the kind of adventure feel it has. Very, very contained at times. It's always very focused on these you know, these characters. Really, really great characters at times, even though they are stereotypes. Peter Potter is definitely one that stands out. Him and Harriet, you know, really, really great stuff at times. Of course, you know, Kenneth and Matron. And yes, this film, very, very good. An 83% is very high for me, especially for a comedy. And yes, I would recommend it. You know, of course, this film, Carry On Camping. Not that I would say, you know, everyone will like the film, because a lot of people bash on this, you know, the franchise. You know, it's definitely got its people that don't like it, that don't get it, but also just, you know, fair enough, you know, just don't find it funny and stuff. But for me, definitely good. Very, very good stuff. At times, it's got some greatness in there. It's got some flaws, but yes, really, really enjoyed this film again. You know, and at times I love the film, but yes, for what it is trying to do, it's very, very effective, and just, yeah, a very, very comforting film for me. I will be maybe reviewing some of the other Carry On films, especially if I get people that kind of are commenting on them and, you know, want to see them. But yes, I will definitely be, regardless, you know, watching you know, more of these films again, rewatching them, and yeah, you know, I really look forward to that. Of course, this one is one of my favourites, if not my favourite, as I've said. So yes, Definitely recommend it. Not that everyone will like the film, fair enough, and some people just don't like, kind of this sort of this particular British comedy, but I do. And yes, thanks for watching my review.